Stick around because today we're going to talk about villains, heroes, mentors, and how you can use psychology to get a better understanding of your stories. What's up, guys? My name is Brandon McNulty. I'm a writer, I'm the author of Bad Parts, and welcome to my writing channel. Today I want to talk about psychology and how you can use it to get a better understanding of your stories, whether you're at the start of the writing process or you're in the middle of it. And I got this idea for today's video from a book I'm reading right now. It's called Psychology for Screenwriters. It's actually for any type of fiction writer. It's a great book. I'm really enjoying it right now. Probably going to do a review on it later this month, but if you are interested in learning more about psychology and how it applies to storytelling, I'll link this in the description below. Definitely check it out. But today I want to talk about Sigmund Freud's theory of the unconscious. And you're probably aware of this whether you realize it or not. If you've ever seen a representation of a character with an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other, you know what I'm talking about. Now, Freud said there are three structures to the unconscious. The first one is the id, which would be like that devil on your shoulder. Then there's the ego, which is the person torn between the devil and the angel. And then there's the superego, which is the angel. I'm going to talk about all three of these. Now, the first of these three structures is the id, and the id, as I mentioned, is that devil on your shoulder. And the id represents your most basic, primal, animalistic urges. And it's all about creation and destruction, sex and aggression, these sorts of things. It's giving into your impulses, going after what you want, regardless of whether or not you actually should. And in storytelling, typically the id is represented by a villain character, somebody who gives in to their urges or who acts with aggression. For instance, I'm sure you've all have sat at a meeting at some point in your lives and somebody spoke up at that meeting and you didn't like what they said and you wanted to go over and just choke them, but you stopped yourself from doing it. However, a villain in a story might just actually go ahead and do it, like Darth Vader does in the first Star Wars movie. So that's a representation of the id, and whenever you are writing villains, remember to have fun with them because the audience wants to experience that thrill of giving in to impulses and going after what you want regardless of the consequences. Now, the second of these three structures is the ego. And the ego is the person who is caught between the devil and the angel and is constantly being pulled back and forth, back and forth. And the ego's job is to reconcile the desires of the id with society's morals and expectations. And the ego is in a constant state of learning and developing, much like how the heroes of our stories are constantly learning and developing. We want character development, we want our characters to grow, so when you are writing your characters, think about how they are pulled between the two different directions. Maybe they want to give in to their impulses or take shortcuts instead of doing the right thing or working hard to achieve their goals. This constant struggle is what gives us internal conflict, and it's something you absolutely have to consider while you're writing your stories. Now, the third and final structure is the superego, the angel on your shoulder. And the superego represents society's values and society's morals that are passed down from authority figures. And typically in stories, a mentor character represents the superego. It's somebody who acts as a role model for the hero, or somebody who teaches the hero how to become a better person or how to overcome their difficulties and work toward their goals. Now, when you're writing your stories, it helps to keep Freud's theory of the unconscious in mind, and that's because most stories contain a hero, a villain, and probably a mentor as well. And what you can do is look at your hero and ask yourself, okay, is my hero being tempted by the villain in some way? Is the villain challenging the hero to give in to impulses and base desires? And is the mentor there to steer the hero toward the more honest and, beneficial way of life? Is the mentor teaching the hero to become a better person and grow and develop as a character? Think about these things as you're working on your stories. And also remember that your id and superego don't have to be represented by physical, living, breathing characters. For instance, the TV series Dexter is about a serial killer who only kills bad guys, and on this show he is constantly being pulled back and forth by his id and his superego. The id in this case is his serial killer nature, his impulse to go out and murder people. And the superego is represented by the ghost of his father, who once instilled a moral code into him where he must kill bad guys instead of killing just any random person. And this is just one way of representing the id and the superego internally. And you don't have to do this. You may in fact be better off representing the id and the superego as living, breathing characters. Whatever you do, it does help if you keep this theory in mind while you are working on your stories. So I hope this helps. Question of the day: does your current work in progress contain characters who represent the id, ego, and superego? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to support the channel, be sure to pick up a copy of Bad Parts if you haven't already. Also, be sure to check out my other videos, hit the like and subscribe buttons for me, share this video with a friend, and as always, remember to keep on writing.